Hello and welcome back to All Things Money. My name is David Blain, and during today's show we're covering some of the numerous changes to the tax laws in the year 2010 as you get ready to prepare and file your taxes. If you have any comments or questions on the show, please give us a call. Our phone number is 252-633-0107. Our email is allthingsmoney@dlblain.com. And our web address is www.dlblain.com. We love to hear from our listeners on 94.1 FM WNBU, as well as our viewers out there in Cable TV 10 in New Bern. Let us know if you have any comments, questions, topics you'd like to see addressed on the show. We like it when people call in or email and let us know what they'd like us to discuss, instead of me just talking about what I want to talk about. One quick public service announcement. As I mentioned in the first segment, this Saturday from 10 to 2, the New Bern Sunday School Baseball League signups will be at New Bern Sporting Goods on Trent Road. I'm heavily involved in the youth baseball here in New Bern, and we'd love to see a great turnout this year for the kids, both boys and girls, playing baseball. So let's get back. When we left, we were talking about some of the expensing provisions in the tax law updates, the bonus depreciation, the Section 179 expensing levels that were raised. And this allows, the maximum amount up to $250,000 of property that can be expensed at one time for businesses. This is a great benefit for business owners purchasing equipment. Some of the other things, qualified business stock, we'll skip that. It doesn't apply to a lot of people. The general business credit, that doesn't apply. We'll skip that. A couple of things. A lot of this is business related. Cell phones. This is kind of interesting. Change to the law. Cell phones were what was called listed property. Listed property means that you have to list it on a tax return and be able to provide documentation for its deduction. For example, cell phones, automobiles, computers, those type of things are listed property, meaning that in order to take a deduction, previously for a cell phone, you had to essentially prove that you were using the phone for business. Now, this is for business. This is not a personal tax deduction for business. Well, they have removed cell phones from the definition of listed property, which basically means if your employer gives you a cell phone, that they can use it for, they can deduct the whole thing without necessarily having to prove personal use. This also applies to other telecommunication devices. Some other business. We'll skip the rest of the business tax. If you have any questions on that, I realize not everybody out there is a business owner, so we'll want to move in our last few minutes here into some other things. If you have any questions on some of the other business incentives and taxes, just give us a call or email. Healthcare reform. Let's talk about the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, the PPACA, and the Health Care and Education Reconciliation Act that were passed. Now, as many of you probably know, this thing has been ruled unconstitutional by a judge in Florida, and various parts of the law have been overturned at the lower court level. Probably going to end up in the Supreme Court. But we want to go ahead and go through some of the rule changes that are in effect, because they are affecting. I know I purchased my own health insurance, and I get a lot of notices from Blue Cross about changes that are already being implemented. So we'll go ahead and go through some of this. Number one, flexible spending counts and health reimbursement arrangements. These are usually offered through your employers. Previously had allowed the payment for over-the-counter medications. This is sort of a big deal. I know I have an HSA account that allows for, like if you went to the drugstore and purchase Tylenol or cough medicine or something, you could use a pre-tax money to pay for that. It was a little bit of an advantage over, say, an employer health care plan where those expenses were not deductible. Well, starting in purchases after December 31st, 2010 no longer qualify for this. So you can no longer write off your aspirin through your HRA or FSA. Health plans in existence before March 23rd, 2010 are generally treated as grandfathered plans. I got a letter from Blue Cross Blue Shield about my plan being grandfathered, and so some of the provisions will not apply. Of course, adult children requires issuers offer dependent coverage until the child reaches age 26. They can stay on their parents' plan. This is a big change from previous. Also requires plans to cover certain preventative services, including all adult screening for depression, diabetes, HIV, things like that. Typically, your health plans already had an incentive to cover, your annual exams and breast cancer exams and things like that. This is a big one. Policies issued or renewed on or after September 23rd, 2010 no longer can place a lifetime or annual dollar limit on the essential health benefits for the participants. And this is big. I know the Blue Cross Blue Shield North Carolina, they used to have in the individual market what they called a Blue Advantage Plan A, and then a B, and C and D. And well, anyway, the Plan A was the only one that had, and correct, I may be wrong about the letters of this, but they had one plan that was unlimited. It was no lifetime limit. So if you got cancer or, some big auto accident or something, they would pay your benefits unlimited. The other ones, in return for a lower premium, they would put a cap on it, say $1 million a year or $5 million per year. And this was done to help keep the premiums low. Of course, if you got in a catastrophic illness or accident or something like that, your insurance could be capped out. And so this PPA-CA removes those lifetime limits so that insurers cannot put a cap on the benefits. Now, this is good for the individuals that need it. However, it will tend to raise the cost of insurance across the board because now they have to be prepared for many more people receiving unlimited benefits. Well, we're out of time for today. We'll continue with some of the last few tax updates next week. For All Things Money, I'm David Blain.
The proceeding was a paid program. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of WNBU and Inner Banks Media.